was green. The action was basically after that first few minutes was really kind of just going back down the whole damn day, right? So in the end, like I count that as a red day, and even the SPY was red yesterday. So that's like 4 days in a row. So even if we're trying to feel really, really giddy about the short side, now the RR is not on the short side, right? You only get so many short days in a row. The one thing I will mention is that it's been more of a bleed than like a big dump. Yeah, 2 days ago we had like that big volatility and like the big dump in the market. The rest of the time, man, it's just been bleeding. So, we could be bouncing here. The problem is when you get a gap like this, right, where does it take you? It takes you into levels of supply that it's hard to get through. Right? And so to get through like a level of supply, like when you're looking at individual stocks or even the market you kind of have to test these kind of levels a couple times, even if it's on shorter time frames like, 60-minute charts or 30-minute charts. So that'll be just something to kind of keep inside your head is like, are we testing enough before we get in? So this makes trading much trickier. When you're looking at the general market and you have levels of supply over it, pops get faded off, right? It's never linear where it's like, oh, the market just starts running and you just rip through it. Even last time, right? Like you kind of before base got over the 200, kind of tested the level a couple times. But if you look at overall, you're starting to build kind of like a, inverse head and shoulders type of pattern here. We may come down and retest this lows at some point, but if this just ends up being like a higher low, then the kind of 1, 2, 3 pattern is set up. We see you, Mr. Hackett. Definitely see you. So just kind of something to be just mindful of. There should be a decent amount of plays today. So on the gapper side, this Goose Island is actually. Do these guys make the beer? Is this what's going down? Because I do like the beer. This thing is busting out over this trend line. It's got a history of making moves off earnings. That's the one thing to kind of be mindful of. Is Goose, like the last few times it's gapped up, it's had a multi-day run. It usually fades off after 3-4 days. Seen that a few times on it too. You could see back in the day when it was at 25, it gapped. Had a huge run for like a couple days and then it faded off a little bit. So just something to kind of keep mind. And then you could see here June 2013, it had an earnings gap here at 27 and ran for a few days and then kind of faded it all back off. So the plan for today is, right, to try to get in on that 1 or 2 day kind of move that it likes to do. And we'll play this thing to the upside. This one's got a decent enough float on the low side where it should have good range. So we'll be watching this for an ORB. I think this one should have some juice on it. Keep an eye on this PCG today. The news has been starting to get smoked out here that you see your Pacific Gas and Electric, Neo Sparks, and the power lines. So these assholes, they probably knew that there was about to be a fucking fire, and they probably just kept their mouths shut. So this thing's getting smoked out. You can get away with that shit in Texas, right? But in the great state of California, they frown upon that kind of behavior. So, this one, if this thing gets a big spike at the open, I'll probably look at, taking this thing short. You cannot chase this stock low on an ORB, I've noticed, because the SSRs on it, there's just so much volume flowing through it. 40 million, 20 million, there's so much volume flowing through it. It's hard to short it on an ORB at lows because between that and the SSR, it grinds a little bit. So, wait for a big pop. We'll watch the 9 or 20 EMAs. Then we'll get around on this bad boy to get this thing going. Let me get rid of all this junk here real quick. Yeah, I'm watching this Resi too. This is an IPO breakout. It looks like it's got its earnings out. This one's going to have a little bit of juice too. The key is going to be like, does it get any volume on it? It normally does a couple million shares a day, so it should have enough liquidity for us to get in and out. But we won't know. But when you get an IPO stock like this, that's like just been around for like 1 month, typically if it has a good ORB pattern at the open, they do tend to have a lot of juice because it's just a newer issue. There's less shares in the float or number of shares outstanding, and so they end up having like some nice Momo on those things. This UGAZ is kind of the hot, this one is it's going to be the hot trader for today, but it's also the trader that probably 98% of you should stay away from. The range just might be too big for people to trade. This one's a rubber band short. Obviously it's getting up into 250s, 260s is a little bit wild. It may bleed off today, as this could be a blow off top. Think of this type of move as like, TLRY, a month ago, right? When everybody likes it, it tends to fade off. The issue with this one's going to be for most people, if you're trying to short this one, is, dude, like how do you handle that range? Imagine like you're going in and shorting 200 shares of this. You see a good intraday pattern, and you're like, fuck it, right? I'm going in 200 shares or 300 shares or whatever it might be, and boom, like, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. You can have a little bit of trouble with this thing. So that's just something to kind of keep mind of. Anytime people love volatility, but anytime you get too much volatility, you have to really reduce your share size. Otherwise, you just get smoked out. And next thing you know, right, you're on the corner pinching old ladies for nickels, right? Trying to get food in your belly. And we don't want that to happen, right? There's other ways to make money. So just think about that when you're going through this stuff. UWT, same type of setup, right? This is a counter trend trade based on a rubber band pattern, right? So you got super oversold levels breaking below the lower Bollinger Band, which indicates, right, a rubber band, right? The farther you stretch a rubber band, the more violent the step back. This one's going to be pretty good too to watch. I won't chase these things though. One thing to remember is like see, this one's already kind of really huffing up pre-market. Even though it's down a lot, I will not chase it. And I do believe, they might even, you'll have to be careful that, usually on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, they have always oil inventory kind of number thingies that just pop out of nowhere. So you'll have to make sure to trade around those too. This one's going to have a lot of juice. And then my favorite, as long as it can stay under this level here, is this Wix. Wix has got like a big support level here. If it can hold under here, which it is already pre-market, I think this one's going to have a potential for a short. This one actually trades in a really big range. So this one, if you see an ORB setup on it, you could definitely take this one, because like when it drops fast, and it tends to get pounded because it'll have a little bit of a spread, but it does move really big. A couple people were asking about this Tesla. Yeah, I think you probably play a little. You can play a little Tesla these days. CGC is definitely a hoe, but it's a tweener, right? You got the 200 SMA here, and so it'll probably fade back to 32 or so in the next few days. Pot stocks suck dick, right? IG, I don't know about this one, Renee. You can see, like, notice how like this one pops into 200 and it fades off, and it pops into 200 and fades off. It's a pump and dump stock. So, Prince, you don't buy anything. We're traders, right? We trade patterns, right? When we see an ORB, we see a quick pullback buy. We see day-long consolidations, VWAP plays, right? When you see XYZ pattern, that's when you pull in the play. Stock picks are for hoes, bros. 23, yeah, so you're kind of at a bounce zone on this AMRN. You can use, right, this 50 SMA is kind of the way to manage your risk. I wouldn't chase this thing up at the open. It's already popped about 20% or 15% pre-market off those lows. Let this thing pull back, but it is in a bounce zone. That is for sure, right? So, especially if the market itself is going to bounce, and this one's got a little bit of juju on it too. So that's going to be the list for today. And there's more than enough movers today to have a little fun and do what you got to do. One thing to remember, if you're trading those nat gas stocks, right? You know, DJazz is the cheaper one. It's the opposite of UGAZ. It's only $4, right? You know, just be mindful of the volatility. Be really mindful of the volatility. If you have something like this, I mean, even if you had a small account and you rip 1,000 shares, I mean, yeah, you could make $1,500, but you can also, right, lose $1,000 in a couple minutes. So you got to just be super mindful of the range. Extra volatility requires extra carefulness. All right, so anybody got anything that they like that we're not watching? Holy, man, get out of here with that stuff. It's on my ban list. This thing is mid-pump. I'd probably leave that one alone. There's hotter plays out there. Hotter plays. Hey, Mr. Jaworski, what's up, baby? Good, good, good. You know what, man? TRY does fucking less revenues than Bulls on Wall Street. I just kind of briefed over the news yesterday. Like, this thing's a turd. It's a pig. It is a pig with fleas. So, let's go do what we got to do, guys. As always, trade well, trade fast. Let's go out and make some money. As always, I'll be in the Bulls on Wall Street chat room calling out the plays live. I trade in front of everybody all day, every day. And I will see everybody in the mañana. Anybody got anything to say? And last rights. Mr. Hackett, what you watching today, sir? Good, 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 good. Boom, 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 boom. Dun, 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 dun. NBev's a hoe, bro. You know this. Look, it's on a little bit of support here, but I mean, can you trust anything that goes from 10 to 3? No, right? I mean, it's, you know, so at some point, the way these things move is they need a catalyst. So you need some pot news, like something like that says, like, buy me. You know what I mean? So just something to just kind of really be mindful of is, you know, make sure that, yeah, just make sure that, you know, you've got, like, the right catalyst if you're going to take a goose and a gander on these things.